we want to make a space that's an alternative way of teaching. It doesn't treat knowledge as living in like the science classroom or the English classroom or the history classroom, but is more reflective of the real world, where all knowledge is actually all at once, all the time, everywhere, and behind you and in front of you. So it's a kind of, a museum seemed to be the way that would allow us to present all these ideas in a somewhat coherent way. And obviously then that hinged on crabs as well, because as an accessible animal that most people in Britain have a relationship with in their childhood, or are at least able to have an intimate relationship with their children. It's very freeing, I think, in a way, because so many projects we've done in the past have been so quite regimented in terms of outcomes. And we just wanted to create a space, really, a space to fill with ideas, and then eventually fill with people taking in those ideas and talking about them. Like, I think it's a lot of the museum experience we have isn't necessarily based on the objects in our collection, but the fact that we're there, the people that made the museum are there now with the help of volunteers, which is wonderful. We're there to have conversations with the public. And it's in that interaction that the museum really exists and really takes on its own life. It's in the personalness of the experience. I think the directors should clean the toilets. There's no excuse for the director of a museum to not know how the toilets work, to not know how to fix the toilets, to not know how to change a light bulb. All of this, a museum isn't let's hire someone in to unblock the toilet because a child's put a load of like tissues down it. Like, in our case, we have to do that because we're there and we're not going to get our volunteers to do it. But in any museum across the world, you don't know how your museum works until you unblock the toilets. You do get to learn all these new skills, and you do get to, I've written occasional funding bids before in the past, and some have been successful and some haven't, but that's something that I know I can have a square go at, and I can have a square go at presenting things. I can have a square go at talking about things to the public, and you only get better. It's wonderful to have these grand ideas about creating community and creating scientific engagement with younger people, and like reorienting people's ideas about the environment into a kind of more like radically equal way. But ultimately, it's also about learning new skills yourself and knowing that the skills you've learned can be transferred elsewhere. And you don't do it consciously; you just do it. And I think that's a real joy and a real benefit of being doing this kind of thing. Take it slowly and not let it take over your life as much as you might want it to take over your life. You don't. Surround yourself by clever, skilled, useful people, and be nice to them, because they'll be really nice to you and they'll sort you out. Like, you need people, because it's people that make a museum, and it's not ideas or objects, it's the relationships that come into a place, like, and especially like a small place. And I think part of that then translates into how it exists in the community. And like, we're locals to Margate. The museum was built entirely by like locals to Margate. It's not been plonked down in a place. I think it's be in tune with the place that you are making this museum. You need to be part of the community before you can before you can give the community something to say, like, here we are, this is us. It's like, it needs to come from the ground up as well. So I think it's like, I'm being honest about that and being sort of, we need help here, please. So I think call in all your favors, be really, really nice to yourself as much as you can. And be prepared for things to take a really long time. And don't worry about it.